Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
5:06 on O'Connor and Company, a Monday morning in your nation's capital. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of people in Rappahannock County waking up right now to take care of all their farm animals and polish off their brand new Mercedes, things like that they do out in the country. I was down in Rappahannock County all weekend talking to the Republican Party there. They're phenomenal. They're fantastic. They're going to carry the state for Glenn Youngkin this election coming up, and none of them care about Taylor Swift going to a football game. So they're my kind of people. Thanks for having us down there. Julie Gunlock, I'm afraid with the way the news cycles are going these days, we're going to have to go to 7 days a week. What an insane weekend.
I know, it really was.
In the news. And we're going to cover it all in mere moments with Kurt Schlichter to celebrate his brand new senator from California by way of Silver Spring. At 6:05, Sean Kennedy is going to talk about life in the Commonwealth and the election coming up. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:45, Trevor Maddich on the near miss for the Commanders up in Philadelphia. Oh, boy, we shut those Eagles fans up for a while, though. And then at 8:05, Mark Palletta. They keep going after Clarence Thomas, and Mark is sort of the go-to guy there on the Clarence Thomas situation. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Did you have a good weekend? Was yours busy?
Yeah, and honestly, it was so wild in Washington this weekend that I was sort of resentful of the errands and other things that I had to do because it was the Jerry Springer show.
Meredith gave me a little bit of license to check my phone now and again because of everything that was going on and because of the potential shutdown. But then we had fire alarms, we had, insurrection, we had everything. We had everything. And now to celebrate having everything in our life, we have Kurt Schlichter. Kurt Schlichter live from California here at Oh Dark Something. He's got a brand new book out. We'll get to that in a sec. But first, the most important thing, Kurt, you've got a brand new senator, and she's a Maryland resident. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited about Senator LaFonza.
You seem thrilled.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I hear she's dating a major football player and doesn't know how to use a fire alarm. So
Sorry, Clears, you've buried the
call
lead.
Back.
You have not gotten the most important talking point. Obviously, she will be the first open, black, lesbian woman senator in history that we know of. And you're supposed to say that before you mention her name.
Well, and also
I don't think that's enough. I would like her to be differently abled.
All right. Well, she could be.
And also, is she a two-spirit? I don't see.
Yes.
I mean, we're going for two things there, but we could go for like 12. On the LGBTQ things, pound symbol, hashtag,
Right.
She could be like 7 things.
Well, she could be dating Taylor Swift.
Frankly, I don't think Gavin Newsom's reaching it. He's getting lazy.
Yeah.
Well, she's the other news breaking thing is that she's the first Marylander to represent California.
Yeah, that's big.
I mean,
you should be proud of that.
That's exciting.
I'm super excited about everything that has to do with this.
Also, as you saw the events, were you watching the events on Capitol Hill on Saturday with the vote and the continuing resolution and the fire alarm? And
I was. It was worse than 1,000,9/11 times 50 Nickelback concerts. This insurrection
is bad.
Treasonous insurrectionism and Russian disinformation about the fire alarm thing.
How great is it?
Now, I actually worked in the Cannon office building.
Oh, did you?
A while.
Were you able to get out of the doors when needed without setting off alarms?
Were you confused a lot?
Frequently.
Yeah.
I most of the time I managed. I went through 8 or 9 weeks as an intern there, never once setting off a fire alarm.
It's amazing.
So
Isn't it great that his only defense and all of his friends and all of his colleagues and all of the media are like echoing it and championing this and rallying around him with the defense that he's just a moron.
He's really dumb.
He's just he doesn't understand what a fire alarm does, and everybody is, yeah, that's right, so leave him alone.
I know. Well, it's like, in my defense, I'm an idiot.
Right, exactly. And AOC's like, it's true, he is an idiot.
he was like a school principal.
Yes.
But was it like a principal of one of those Baltimore schools?
Well, he was required as a principal.
Yeah.
As a principal, he was required to do fire alarms 12 times a year, every month.
And he
Maybe he
So
missed
he basically gets out of the building one time every 4 weeks.
Right.
They're the best and the brightest. Kurt, we're going to be breaking down this whole conflict now between Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz, and I guess Matt Gaetz is going to offer to vacate McCarthy, but then there's Republicans who are looking to expel Matt Gaetz. Are you following this?
Well, first of all, I think Matt Gaetz is mad because Vivek Ramaswamy stole his hair at the debate.
They do have very, very tall dudes. There's kind of a B-52 thing going on there.
Well, I like his hair. It makes him more aerodynamic. But I was a military guy back when we had a military, before we had, Fat Millie and Fat Vinman. And I like having a plan and an objective, and I'm not sure what Matt Gaetz's plan and objective is, except finally I get a chance to use this meme of a bunch of guys with guns pointed at me, and I'm standing there looking butch.
Yeah, he did. It did.
You see that?
I tend to. I like a lot of the things that Matt Gaetz says, and I like that he's got the courage to step out and say it when I know a lot of his colleagues are just thinking it and don't say it. Yet at the same time, as this was all sort of going down, it did seem like it was more about Matt Gaetz than anything else, and that's.
Well, I was like going, this is great. What are you trying to actually accomplish? I'm gonna get rid of Kevin McCarthy. Okay, that's a means to an end. What's the end?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have an end, you're going to get kicked in the end.
Well, and through these actions now, we were going to have an 8% cut in spending. We were going to have some measures for border control, and now because of sort of Matt Gaetz, we're not going to have any of that.
Because of the deadline and pushing things back. And now he would argue that if you had done all this stuff 3 months ago when we wanted, we wouldn't have the deadline.
I'm sort of conflicted.
Well, that may well be true.
Yeah,
that may well be true. And thanks to you, now we don't. Okay. I don't know what he's heading for, except he dislikes Kevin McCarthy, which is fine. I dislike Kevin McCarthy. The only advantage of him is he actually is from California.
It's true. That's true. By the way, hang on, Kurt. We got to go to traffic real fast, and I want to talk about the new book. And also, Kurt was, like I just said, I went to Rappahannock County Republican Party. Kurt was actually asked to go to Kevin McCarthy's district for a fundraiser for the party. And he trashed McCarthy the whole time. It was great. I'll talk about that in a minute, too.
News Talk 105.9.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
LaFonza Butler will be named as the new senator of California. Kurt Schlichter, California resident here, says she's trash, and she's not even California trash. Which, I mean, where's the lie there? Kurt, you told me about this. You were asked to go to Bakersfield to talk to the local Republican women there, and that's Kevin McCarthy's district. Pretty much you weren't invited by the McCarthy office, but you were not kind to the good speaker during that appearance, if I remember right.
Well, look, I want to be clear. I would have been unkind to him, but I couldn't because his constituents were too busy doing it.
Oh, that's true.
Okay,
that's right.
No, I'm sitting there. I'm like, look, I think McCarthy's in a tough position. I don't like the guy, if he, but he's in a tough position. It's not my fault. His own constituents were like, this guy sucks. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like listening politely. So suddenly I'm the bad guy.
Isn't that funny how
that's
great. I twisted that story around a little bit. I do remember there was trashing of McCarthy, Kurt. I didn't realize it was actually.
Well, there was. It was just by his own constituents.
Kurt, your new book, Overlord. Now, this is the 8th in the Kelly Turnbull series. The cover art, I've already told you, is magnificent. And it shows Kelly Turnbull now bringing basically the split in our country, which is documented in this book, the fictional split in our country, or the actual split, but played out in fictional sort of divisive. Well, it's not. Is it a civil war? It's a divide. Basically, our country is split in half.
Divide. The country is. the country is split in half into
Right.
red and blue, and blue America is like a giant college campus gone wild.
Right.
And there are adventures and antics, and there's guns, and there's people making fun of liberals, and
But
they're weird. That's the other thing LaFonza should be. She should be fat because people of heft
oh, that's
are an
right.
important
Here comes the
demographic.
body shaming part of the conversation. Yeah, but wait, but back to the book. I haven't read it yet, but I haven't gotten a copy yet. By the way, thanks. The book shows Kelly Turnbull standing in Times Square, and so the fight is now in Manhattan.
It like the Muppets taking Manhattan, except with more firepower. And yes, there still is Broadway.
Yeah.
He almost stops in to see the Lion King, except it's not called the Lion King
Okay.
anymore because, well, I mean, the king is a sexist term.
It's the Lion Monarch.
I think it's the lion non-binary royal being.
Oh, now hold
And
on.
of course, I can't say Makuna Tata. That's cultural appropriation.
You usually give me
It's like, hey, dude.
You usually give Larry O'Connor a cameo in the or a passing reference. Is there a Broadway moment for me in this one?
There is no Broadway moment
thank
for you, but you
goodness.
do have a very interesting conversation about fertility.
Oh
Oh,
God.
dear.
Well,
Your potency is questioned.
good Kurt.
I'm just
Oh,
going
I'm
to throw it
looking
out.
forward to that. How much did Tony Katz pay you for that one, or was it Chris DeGaulle?
Seagal's in it too.
Oh, sure. He is. But these are highly successful. They're obviously fictional thriller books set in the not too distant future. But the feedback, whenever I mention the Kelly Turnbull books on social media, people go insane. They love these books.
I'm selling a lot of them. I mean, I sell a lot of them, and I think our mutual friend Andrew Breitbart would be very proud because he in a way was an inspiration for it because he was a lot of what he was. You know, he's famous for saying politics is downstream from culture, but he also used to say, "Shut up and make some culture your own."
Right.
And I don't mean, crappy formulaic espionage thrillers that are all essentially the same except for the title, and also you're very short. He was not for that.
Yeah.
He was, get out there and do your own thing.
And change the
And I did.
move the conversation. And that's it. Yeah, you make great political points about our society, about our government, about our leadership, and about our founding without doing another documentary that looks exactly like the last 40 documentaries. You actually do these as a work of fiction and make your point through, which is, by the way, what art is supposed to be. So I really do like. Oh my God, did I just call Kurt Schlichter's book art? Oh God.
You did.
Well,
You did.
Oh no.
But, Kurt, can
Great,
I
I
ask you,
need a beatnik, and I need like a beatnik beret, and I'm going to start applauding by snapping my fingers.
Kurt, can I ask a question? You wrote this great book, Militant Normals. I love that book. But I feel like, when you wrote that book, I was still in this sort of Eeyore phase of feeling like, oh my God, we're never coming back from this. But recently, for instance, Billboard Chris, he goes to these, he wears a sandwich board, he goes to these campuses, and he's been talking about how he's seen a change, obviously on the transgender issue, that people are just fed up. He now has a lot more support, people coming up to him and applauding him rather than screaming in his face or assaulting him. So that's been it's been interesting to watch him talk in these very much more positive ways about our culture. Are you seeing that since you read or wrote Militant Normals? Are you seeing this change? Because I feel like on social issues and on some of this cultural issues, people are just fed up.
Oh, people are done with a lot of this nonsense, and I think they're coming out of their fear of saying you're stupid and ridiculous.
Yes.
And you can see the left is getting much more anti-free speech because they've just decided, well, since I can't force them to say what I want, I'm gonna not let them say anything at all. Disarmed, disenfranchised, and deceased is how they want us. That's also the subject of my new town hall column, which is amazing, by the way, and you should go see that or read that. But
that's true. Brand new town hall column
I'm
just dropped. Kurt, real fast on the columns, because I know you write your columns usually ahead of time or over the weekend for the week. I mean, when you see the events of this weekend transpire, do you have to throw everything out and rewrite it all? Seriously, this is insane.
Well, I think I will certainly work in I don't know how to work a fire alarm / door reference in the something. I mean,
all right.
You like to have current events. Taylor Swift, Lauren Boebert, LaFonza. They're all going to make an appearance.
All right. Overlord is the new book. It's the 8th of the Kelly Turnbull People's Republic series. They are gripping. They are entertaining. And, they're art. Kurt Schlichter, get the book, Overlord. Kurt, and by the way, if you reach out to Kurt on social media, he'll, send you a signed copy, right? Are you still doing that?
I am.
Do you have your son actually sign them for you?
You've seen my handwriting.
Okay. His son's dog actually does it for him, but still, you get your signature. Kurt Schlichter, good to talk to you.
Barky or Bitey?
Barky and Bitey will sign the books. Bye, Kurt. Enjoy your evening in California. Ahoy to you. All right. Well, there you go. Always good to start the week with Kurt Schlichter. We get our breath back now, and we get you the latest on the presidential election sweepstakes. It looks like RFK Jr. will be running as an independent. So throw a little Ross Perot action into the mix. Who does he help? Who does he hurt? And will it make a difference? We'll discuss next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now. Now.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
5:36 on O'Connor and Company. And yes, it is an incredibly busy morning because we're coming off an incredibly busy weekend where we averted a government shutdown, at least for 45 days. But the drama within the Republican caucus over how that went down and the fallout from it, it continues to be a news story. And we'll cover that as we go forward this morning. Also at 6:05, Sean Kennedy will give us his take on the Virginia election that we're in the midst of. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:45, Trevor Maddich on the football game yesterday. And at 8:05, Mark Paletta on the continued attacks on Clarence Thomas. Larry O'Connor here. Julie Gunlock there.
Good morning.
I feel like we've been shot out of the cannon here to start things off.
did too.
And when we did with Kurt Schlichter there. By the way, Kurt wanted me to remind you that he got high praise on his book from none other than Bill Kristol. Bill Kristol has described his books as appalling. Appalling books sadly praised by mainstream conservatives. So that's Bill Kristol. So if that's Bill Kristol's take,
wow,
you know you need to get yourself some Kelly Turnbull in your life.
I think I have to order a second.
That's right.
Now.
And send it to
Thank
Bill.
you, Bill.
Send it to Bill. That's like Hillary Clinton calling you deplorable. It's
Right.
like that's
you
gold.
really do hope for Bill to slam your book. That's great.
It is Bill Kristol disapproved. That's the stamp of disapproval right there.
There you go.
That you want. All right. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as we've mentioned, has been saying that the Democrats' system for coming up with a nominee this year is 100% rigged, which it is. They've decided that Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. Anybody who, and this is the Democratic Party, right? This is everything's all about democracy. People need to have one voice, one vote, one person, one vote. This is horrible what they're doing. Don't disenfranchise people. So they decided that Iowa and New Hampshire are no longer the first states. They're going to make it South Carolina. No one, sent the memo to Iowa and New Hampshire, though. New Hampshire actually has a law that says they must be the first in the nation primary. By law, they have to do that. Democrats in that state are trying to put through legislation that modifies it now because the Democrats are strong-arming them, saying, no, we're going to make South Carolina first. And, of course, Governor Sununu in New Hampshire says, I'm not interested in signing that. Sorry, Democrats, you're screwed. So, of course, RFK Jr. is like, well, fine, then I'll run in New Hampshire. I'll run in Iowa. If he wins New Hampshire over Joe Biden, his delegates will be taken from him and given to Joe Biden. That's the system the Democrats have put together. There will be no debates. There will, and he's still polling between 15 and 20% to Joe Biden. So he announced, or he plans on making an announcement this week in Philadelphia that he will run as an independent.
Good for him.
So a lot of people are saying, that's going to hurt Trump. That's not the first thing that comes to mind.
No, exactly.
That's not the first, darn, it's going to hurt.
Look,
there's a little crossover there.
Sure. His position on the vaccine mandates, and let me say, RFK is like a noted anti-vaxxer. And I'm not talking just about COVID mandates. I'm talking Like, he doesn't want your kid to get an MMR vaccine, okay?
He says he's been injured. His voice issues that he's got.
Yeah.
He was injured from a flu vaccine. That's what he.
Yeah. But he really has, I think, done. He's really fueled the anti-vax. It's so funny because I say the anti-vax movement, and I'm like, but I always have to make that distinction between COVID being anti-COVID mandate and sort of traditional
Well, and of course,
schedule
COVID
for children.
vaccine isn't really a vaccine.
No, it's not. But anyway, the point is that his position on the COVID mandate really did draw a lot of Republicans to him, understandably.
Yes.
Right. And one of the most, I think, and I'm no great fan of his, but one of the things that I found so compelling about him, even I found compelling about him, is he wanted to have a conversation.
Right.
That alone.
Right. And he realized, there's some things you're not allowed to talk about, and you'll get canceled.
But I'm sorry, but anybody with the name Kennedy is not going to draw billions of people over to his side away from Trump. That's
not
just
from
not
Trump.
gonna happen.
I don't know any voter out there who's like, well, I was going to vote for Trump, but now that RFK Jr. is running as an
not gonna
independent.
happen.
No, of course
Right.
it's
It's
not
a
going to happen.
Kennedy.
This hurts Biden.
Yes.
It hurts Biden. It hurts Biden. Everybody that I see out there on social media who are all in on RFK Jr. are all Democrats, or that's all I see. Except maybe Rob Schneider, although I don't even think Rob Schneider, the comedian, I don't think he's a Republican. I think he's just not your typical Democrat.
Yeah.
And
Which for a lot of conservatives, that's enough. We're
Right.
If we get someone from Hollywood that in any way veers off of the Democrat talking points, we're like, come to us, welcome.
Right, exactly.
But
Oh,
really,
God, you go all
they're
in.
generally
Like
still very
the
liberal.
Kanye movement.
Yeah.
So I think this hurts Biden. I think it hurts Biden in a big way. And again, all that matters here is a handful of states. But a state like Arizona, RFK Jr. jumping in, that could hurt Biden. Again, I don't think it's going to take votes away from Trump. A state like Michigan that has a very independent streak. Same with Wisconsin. This could hurt Biden. You take, 4%. That's all it takes. 4% of Biden's votes over to RFK Jr. and it's done. It's over.
Well, what also hurts Biden is just the comparison. I mean, Kamala is so loathsome. No one can stand Kamala. But RFK has this sort of, he's magnetic.
Looking like his dad doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt. But also he's very healthy. He's an older man, of course, but my gosh, there's footage of him jumping off a cliff this weekend, diving into the water. And, you can't, Biden can hardly walk across the stage without getting in trouble. So.
The announcement is set for today in Philadelphia. Next Monday in Philadelphia. He put out a teaser video that said, "Save the date, save the country."
Not bad.
Right?
I'm glad to hear it.
Well, we're all glad to hear it. It's 5:43. Time for me to turn that off and mute it. Was that Siri?
That was. I don't know what happened.
No way Siri has to jump into our conversation. It's time for Critter News. Early morning edition of Critter News.
I know.
Pre-dawn edition.
Yes.
You got to keep things lively here.
Yeah.
We have decried the ubiquitous nature of emotional support animals, as well we should. I've said, and if you use one of these emotional support animals and you bring your little puppy onto the plane, good for you, but it annoys everyone around you, just so you know. I know people act nice to you. Of course they act nice to you. You have a puppy. But for the most part, here's why it annoys me. I think it dumbs down the actual very real use of service animals out there, mostly for our blind people or veterans who don't have a limb,
epileptics.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, my child has autism, and he could have an emotional support animal. He does. He has a pet. We don't take that pet everywhere we go. The pet is there for when he's. It's just stop with the emotional support animals, especially when you go beyond a dog. Right.
And I know people who have emotional support vests.
Yeah.
That they bought on Etsy, and they're not real.
They're not real. Exactly.
So that they can take
but
their
it makes
dog
it look official.
everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
That exactly.
Who's going to question someone with a emotional support vest on their dog? Let me see your paperwork.
Right.
No, because you have to be nice.
Meredith and I saw somebody carrying an animal of some kind. I don't think it was a dog. It was a weird exotic animal. And carrying it around a mall or something, and it had a little service animal vest. And Meredith said, "Is it though?
Is it though?
Is it really a service animal?"
There is footage of people trying to bring peacocks, emotional support peacock, a tiny pony,
Which brings us to our latest story. The Philadelphia Phillies are a baseball team. Julie, they're actually in the
Thank
playoffs.
you. I know.
They stole Bryce Harper from the Nationals.
I know.
We won the World Series without him, and well, it's been all downhill since then. Meanwhile, the Phillies will be going into the playoffs, and there's a major Phillies fan who got turned away at the gate of the stadium there in Philadelphia because she tried to bring in her emotional support alligator.
What is wrong with people?
It's named Wally Gator. He was on a leash. He had a harness. And this person wanted to bring them into Citizens Bank Stadium and was turned away, saying,
Good.
no, you cannot bring your alligator. And it's become a cause. This person took to social media, took to TikTok and said, can you believe that they're not letting me bring in my emotional support alligator?
This is where the Be Kind movement has just gone too far. People are so entitled.
According to the Citizens Bank policy, Citizens Bank Park, I should say, guide dogs, service animals, or service animals in training are welcome. All other animals are prohibited. Well, this person thinks that this alligator is a service animal of some sort.
But okay, can we review who decides what is and isn't a service animal? Because clearly the person who thinks alligators and peacocks can qualify as service animals.
Clearly
I also want to know.
Well, they do need help, but not
animals
from
like peacocks and alligators trained to not go to the bathroom. Because certainly dogs can be trained. Or for that matter,
bite people. Yeah.
Right, or kill people.
Joy Henney is the owner of Lower Paxton Township, Pennsylvania, is the owner of the emotional support alligator.
It's the dumbest
and
thing.
claims that it helps him. Oh, it's a him.
Well.
Joy. Joie. Joey?
Joey. Let's go with Joey.
He says that the alligator helps him battle depression and that he likes to give hugs.
This is just absurd.
How did this not happen in Florida?
There is a picture of this alligator, and he does not have tape around his mouth.
No, he doesn't. He looks ready to snap your head off. But he's got his service animal vest, so don't you
That's the
dare.
thing. You can buy those on Etsy.
Yeah.
I've looked into it.
Phillies fan and his TikTok. Of course he's a Phillies fan.
Yeah.
This makes all the sense in the world.
I love how we're also concerned. So service animals are now on planes, right? You're like stuck in this capsule.
Yes.
Everybody is so like they got rid of peanuts, but apparently animal allergies don't happen. I mean, people are allergic to these things.
Thank you. I've always said that. It's like I had a friend of mine spend the weekend at my house and brought their dog.
Yeah.
Wonderful, lovely. Would never tell her to her face. She's not awake right now. The dog hair got to me.
Yes.
After just one weekend. I mean, Meredith and I are both sensitive to dog hair. It's just the reality of the situation. We'd have them back again. It's okay. Maybe not with the dog. But it's possible to be allergic to a horse. It's possible to be allergic to a cat.
Yes.
And then when you get on the plane, you're sitting next to that animal.
Yeah, and then also
and you're right. You're not allowed to have peanuts.
And then also, are you allowed to not want to die if you're sitting next to the alligator?
I had to fly back on a red eye from LA because, I go see my kids often. And I was flying back in time for the show the next day, and I was on a red eye. And sitting next to me was a woman, middle seat, because it's a jammed plane. And she sits down next to me with her French boxer named Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, and introduced, this is Charles Barkley. I said, hi, Charles Barkley. How are you? And I was like, fine, I'll deal with this. Charles Barkley sleep, and I'm trying to sleep. It's a red eye. I got to sleep. I've got farted the whole time.
I remember you telling me
Charles
that.
Barkley is flatulent. And I mentioned it at the time. And apparently Charles Barkley is a very famous animal in the DMV.
Really?
Or her owner, apparently, because I got hate emails from friends of Charles Barkley saying, he wasn't farting, you were farting.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, because French boxers are never flatulent.
Well, frankly, you should have started farting. I mean, honestly.
Who would know?
Yeah.
That is the upside.
Well, and also, give her a little bit of her own medicine.
I wouldn't do such a thing.
I know.
I mean, I'm in my sleep. I have no control over my bowels. That's why I wear a Depends. It's 5:53.